Welcome to the Backdoor Fantasy Sports Podcast with Russo and Jordy.
All right, so we got week one in the books. Pretty exciting first week. A couple of snoozer primetime games here and there, but overall, it's great to have football back. Russo and Jordy with Backdoor Fantasy Sports. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. This is our fantasy football show. We also cover sports picks for like prize picks, underdog, chalkboard, stuff like that. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed. If you guys don't mind, hit us with a like, just to help us grow our channel. We really appreciate it. And if you haven't signed up for any of these player prop sites, highly recommend Underdog. They've been running all sorts of awesome specials. And right now, if you sign up and use code BACKDOOR, you'll get a free pick just for joining. And they're going to give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash with your first deposit. You can go through the link in the description of the video or use code BACKDOOR. And they're also running all sorts of cool, like no sweat tokens, which is basically like a protected play. Just discounts. They've been running all sorts of promos. And another partner of ours is Chalkboard. Definitely check them out. There's a link in the description for all of our affiliates if you guys are looking to sign up for any of these platforms. But yeah, let's talk about Sunday. Do a recap here. So we'll just kind of go down the list. Let's talk Steelers, Falcons. You got this one right. I thought you were crazy. I had all the confidence in the world, just like firing back at you when we were talking about these. And I was like, dude, no way. And the Falcons looked really bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's always weird with them. Like, there's so much history with them that I'm like, I never trust their front office to get it right. As good as it looks on paper, I just never trust them. It's so weird. Like, I always just have a gut feeling that whatever they put together that's like hyped up is just gonna stink, and this one stinks pretty bad. But
it does.
It shouldn't at all. They've got so much talent. Kyle Pitts finally got a touchdown. You know, it was like things were looking up.
Like, yeah, but he got a touchdown. That was just a broken play. He was literally standing there. Like,
yeah.
So it's almost kind of like if I'm a Kyle Pitts owner, I'm excited that he caught one, but overall performance, I'm not like pumped and thinking like, yep, this is his breakout year. Still could be.
He would have
only
like
one
2
game,
points if he didn't catch that touchdown. So, you know, it's like, it doesn't look any different to me. Like, it would have been the same old Kyle Pitts had he not caught that one. I mean, any of us could have caught that touchdown standing in the end zone like that on a busted coverage. So it wasn't anything special, but we found out some information for sure. If you're a Bijan owner, you're happy though. He got fed.
I am a very happy Bijan owner.
Yeah.
Tons of work in the pass game. Tyler Algier was an afterthought. It's exactly like, so I couldn't be happier with that. I want to see this offense get going though. Don't want to overreact to week one. Steelers are really tough on defense, but it's, with what we saw from the Falcons, it looked chaotic. It looked like they didn't know what they were doing out there. And game two, if they don't look any better, we'll know a lot more obviously, but my brain's already going like, do we see some Michael Penix before the year's over? Like, because Kirk Cousins is coming off, he was, on what was going to be a career year when he got injured last year. So that's why I thought this offense was going to be electric, because I'm just sitting here thinking like Kirk Cousins was just like a flamethrower when he went down, but we don't know how the rest of that season would have panned out. But yeah, jury's still out on the Jaylen Warren usage. I am kind of chalking it up a little bit to like they were just easing him in, because towards the end of the game, in some important moments, they did have him in there. So I still am optimistic about that. But it's just interesting because, Najee Harris, 20 carries, like he went for 70 yards. The thing that worries me a little bit, and I'm not invested in either of these guys for fantasy, but Najee Harris does seem totally like an Arthur Smith type of guy, like just, high volume, just not super elusive, but just a guy who's going to be really physical in there. But I think that Jalen Warren's going to be fine. But we'll see. It is Arthur Smith. We could see a whole lot of Cordero Patterson, which would not be
Yeah,
good
that
for
was
fantasy.
really fun and frustrating to watch Cordell Patterson go out there and get more touches than Jalen Warren. I don't know what all that was about, but
It's got to be. I mean, Arthur Smith brought him in. He brought him in from Atlanta, so it could be one of those things where it's like this is his guy he trusts.
yeah.
But all that being said, Justin Fields looked good in my opinion. I think that if you're a Justin Fields owner, you're pretty happy right now. There's a lot of upside here, and he was actually better at passing the ball than I'm used to seeing. I know that he's underrated. Like him getting traded away from the Bears, I feel like just kind of gave him this tag of like, okay, like that experiment didn't work, but the Steelers got him for next to nothing, and they've got Russell Wilson there, who I'm also curious to see how he fits into this offense. But I think if I'm the Steelers, I'm pretty excited about what I saw from Justin Fields.
Yeah, even though they didn't, get in the end zone, it was all Boswell, but it didn't look horrible. The Atlanta defense looked somewhat like competent, but we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Boswell,
Yeah,
went absolutely nuts, but we'll see how it looks next week. All right, and then we got Cardinals Bills. I was super stoked about the way the Cardinals started this game off. I'm still really optimistic about this Cardinals offense. Defense actually in the first half looked better than I think a lot of people were expecting. But the Cardinals line was at their projected points from Vegas was 16.5. And they crushed that. They almost were able to tie this game up, and they were really controlling the game in the first half. Going down and scoring that first touchdown. James Conner is exactly what we were hoping. If you're a fantasy owner, heavy usage. We only saw like a little bit of work from Trey Benson and DeMarcado. So that's the solid pickup if you got him, mid to later in your draft.
yeah, he looks fine. I mean, everyone's talking about the blunder on Marvin Harrison, getting wide open, but those things happen. That happens all the time. It just happened to happen to them that one time, So Marvin Harrison's gonna be fine. It was a rough week 1. They had a pretty tough matchup. Like it's gonna get better for them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll watch the tape like that. That's an error that they'll correct. And I'm really excited to see how things look in week 2. But as a Cardinals fan, I'm very excited from what I saw from them.
Yeah.
I think they could be sneaky in the NFC West. Josh Allen, ended up doing his thing, figured it out, had a monster game.
It's the whole offense, man.
What was that?
I said he's literally their entire offense.
Yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
if you're a Keon Coleman owner, like you got to be excited. I know he only went for, 4 receptions, 51 yards is solid, but he had a 30% target share. So if they get clicking and that you could only hope that your wide receiver has a 30% target share. So all that being said, James Cook, 19 carries, 71 yards. Like for fantasy, the guys that were sticking out before the season started are looking, things are looking pretty solid out there in Buffalo for fantasy.
Yeah, I really liked what I seen from Matt Collins too. Matt Collins looks very good in that offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Grab that touchdown. He's just a gritty player. He fits in well with Buffalo.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel, though, all the Curtis Samuel truthers, we've got some questions we need answered because I didn't see him. Yeah, I didn't see him involved very much at all. They'll figure it out. But I think for the wide receivers, I would be pretty excited if you were a Keon Coleman truther, just because 30% of targets is great. We got Titans Bears. Man, what a weird kind of gross game. Like if you had the Bears defense, you're on cloud 9 right now. But I mean,
man, if you're a Titans fan, it just is getting worse and worse. Your coach coming out and saying that they would have done better if they just punted it on 1st and 10 every time. It's like, it's true. They would have probably won the game if they literally just punted the ball away on offense. Like they had, obviously that's kind of an unfair assessment. I think not Malik, but Will Levis played pretty decent in the first half. Honestly, like he controlled the game. He used his legs, and then the cobwebs got into his mind and he just started making horrible decisions. he was trying to make the right decisions, but he just did it in a dumb way, like kind of flipping the ball out to the sideline like that is just crazy. Like that was not smart. But the Bears defense stepped up hard.
Yeah, it's like 17-3 in the first half. Titans are up. Everything's looking good. Things are clicking. And then I think that Bears defense just adjusted so well at the half, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they were scoreless in the second half. And then the Bears defense scored 21 points. Or not 21 points. I guess it would be 18. But, like,
yeah.
And then I would be, Will Levis started off looking decent and then looked really rough in the second half. You had that dropped pass from Keenan Allen, but I didn't see, I don't think that Caleb Williams met expectations in week 1.
No. And, now you got Rome Odunze with a sprained, MCL, and it's just going to be kind of weird. I think it's going to be one of those experiments that is going to be fine. I think they're going to be okay because Caleb Williams didn't make any really bad decisions either. So he didn't look too rattled. I think it was just a lot of nerves. Yeah. Like Keenan Allen dropping passes, what he get targeted 12 times and had 4 receptions. Stuff like that's not always going to happen. So if you're a Keenan Allen owner, I would be happy. 12 targets.
With the target share. Yeah. But I think he's dealing with a little bit of an ankle too.
Yeah, and he looked like he ran into a hamstring injury on the one. Maybe that was his ankle, but it looked like he kind of limped off the field at one point. So I don't know. It's kind of weird over there in Chicago.
But for the Titans, it looked like Tony Pollard was just the clear one. All this talk about timeshare and 50-50 backfield. These guys are interchangeable. That was all the coach speak. And then Pollard comes out and gets 16 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. You probably got Keenan Allen at a value if you drafted him. We'll see. It's just one week, but I would be pretty excited if I had Keenan Allen, and because that beat expectations for me. 82 yards and a touchdown. All right, Patriots, Bengals. Oof, the Bengals, man. What a mess they've got going out there. That was just gross. Lose to the Patriots 16-10. Looked like it should have been much worse than that. Patriots controlled every minute of this game.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow goes for 164 yards and no touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what I've seen from the Patriots run game. That was awesome. Yeah. Their run game looked dominant.
25 carries, 120 yards and a touchdown. Another guy that consensus was kind of middle of the road, leaning towards the bottom.
Yeah, we were high on him though, so we got it right.
Yeah, we're happy about the volume, but 25 carries, he's looking like a steal in drafts.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, I hate the situation. You paid a lot to get Jamar Chase on your Dynasty league or in your redraft league, and I hate the drama. I hate the chemistry. Just seems, and I'm not saying that on field, I'm saying off field chemistry. I hate situations like that. So no T Higgins.
Yeah, that really sucked. That always kind of throws it off for them because they were just doubling Jamar the entire game, and it made it very easy for the Patriots to scheme against them because everything else looked horrible. Zach Moss looked okay, but it was it looks so vanilla. It was just run the ball, try to hit Chase, and and then they had the other kid, what's his name, Lavosa or something like that.
Yoshivas.
Yeah, so it's it's just really weird. Joe Burrow did not play well at all.
And he wasn't even pressured that often either. No. It's not even the type of thing where it's O-line still bad. It's no, it was just, I don't know, man. They've got to figure something out. But I stayed away from all things Bengals other than Moss.
Me too. Yeah, I got
for fantasy. Moss, I just don't like all the question marks. Who's it going to be week to week? And maybe things will be fine. Maybe I'm sure Jamar Chase will still be a great receiver, end of season. But I just didn't really want to pay the price for these pass catchers in Cincinnati, and fantasy just wasn't really drawing my eye.
Yeah.
Texans Colts 29-27. Texans come away with the win.
That was a fun
Colts
game.
It was, man. Yeah. Colts kept it so much closer, made this game competitive than I was personally expecting. We had I'm a Anthony Richardson Dynasty owner, so I've been just waiting after, because it's like we saw some potential last year, and then after the injury, it just was too small of a sample size to know what you really have there. But wow, like maybe like some of these deep balls he's capable of throwing, like
the one
off
off his back
balance.
foot, off balance, and just literally throws it 60 yards. Like if you watch from where he throws the ball, he throws it at the 40 and it goes to the end zone. Like off his
Yeah,
back foot. Like that is insane strength to just heave that ball. Like I keep making the comparison of it looks like Cam Newton, but it does look like Cam Newton. Like if you watch him run, he's got the same upright running style, and he's like, I think honestly though, like his overall talent this early in his career, I think he looks better than Cam did
I do
already.
too. I
Yeah.
think that's a good comparison, but he looks like Cam Newton on steroids to
Yeah.
me.
And that's, I
Like,
mean, that's just kind of how the world's evolved, I think, too. Like college football is so much harder now. Like these guys are, kind of groomed into the NFL at like a younger age now, where it's like, okay, this is like more natural and they're playing against more college style defense and stuff like that, too. But man, like his decision making looked great. Like I liked everything I seen from the Colts yesterday.
me too. And then you've got Alec Pierce,
Yeah.
who people were just writing off. And I know he only had 3 receptions, but he went for 125 yards and a touchdown.
Dude is fast.
Yeah, and we saw that last year. We saw some, a little bit of preseason where Alec Pierce was getting these bombs and not coming down with the ball. But Anthony Richardson was giving him all the praise coming into week 1, saying like, like you guys are sleeping on Alec Pierce. He was like, basically Richardson was saying like, I'm back. Like Alec Pierce is going to be good. And man, did they look good in week 1. Like, we definitely have to talk about Alec Pierce on the waiver pickups if he's out there and available. Joe Mixon, my God, just completely exceeded my expectations. Not that I'm not a fan of Joe Mixon, but I just didn't know where does this run game fit in with the Texans with having so many options at wide receiver and the type of distributor that CJ Stroud is. And Mixon comes out and gets 30 carries. 159 yards and a touchdown. Like, wow.
That was insane because even their receivers did well. Like, you had Diggs get 2 touchdowns and you still had, it now looks pretty clear to me. I mean, we'll see as the year goes on, but it looks like Tank Dell is like just the downfield option, like the third guy who's just kind of breaking open the defense. But I was very happy as a Nico fantasy owner because I'm like, okay, it's still Nico. It's going to be Diggs in the red zone. That's kind of their identity. It looked pretty clear to me because Mixon was just getting so much work. Like that dude looks so good. I love his running style. I've always loved Mixon because it's very old school with him. He's just kind of breaking through the line, running people over. He's exactly what they need because now they have a whole nother dynamic to their offense that they weren't getting with Singletary.
Yeah, and he's still like relatively young. Like he looks like he's in the prime of his career, and man, do they look great. And then we also saw CJ Stroud getting out there and getting mobile on some of these plays. Like, he's sort of pegged as like a statue quarterback, which I think that fits the description. He's just back there distributing, but some of these plays where he's breaking out and evading defenders and then throwing across the field, like literally the opposite direction. Like CJ Stroud is just the truth. Like what a score they got in drafting him. And it's like so crazy how quickly this team came together as a franchise.
Crazy.
So yeah, I think that about covers that game. Jaguars, Dolphins. I was expecting this to be much more high scoring. The Jaguars really kept the Dolphins in check in the first half, going up 17-7. And apparently, I heard Tua like laid into his team at halftime, and they accepted it well. And he was just basically telling them to wake up, like we're playing terrible. Like he was blaming the offense, and they came out and it looked a lot better in the second half. But still, I mean, gosh, if it wasn't for that awesome defensive play, ETN literally inches away from the end zone. And then Tyreek breaks off for that 80-yard touchdown. And I think the big news here, though, is Tank Bigsby led that backfield even before that fumble.
Yes, sir.
12 carries, 73 yards. And there was coach speak coming into this season of like, we want to get Tank more involved, but we heard that last year too. And we all took the bait last year. And he was just like in your taxi squad, you know, all year.
Yeah.
But
might have to come out this year.
I mean, you know, it's like he's leading in carries, leading in snaps, and then ETN fumbles that away. Like, I think we could officially see at least 50-50 moving forward.
Yeah.
But
man, that is so bad for ETN's ADP though, like where people were taking him. Oh my God. That's so rough.
Because Tank did look better, in my opinion, on the field.
I thought so, yeah. He had some more explosive plays and he looked shiftier. You know, it was like, it looked awesome.
Now we got Panthers Saints. The absolute blowout of the week.
This one reeks. Derek Carr, my goodness. That man, he was laser accuracy. That was, as a Saints fan, I grew up a Saints fan. You know, obviously I'm a Cowboys diehard now, but just I love seeing the Saints succeed in any form of the way, you know, like it looks so awesome. I know the Panthers are just that bad. But, you know, last year the Panthers had a top-ranked secondary. So it was like they were like top 5 in yards allowed passing. But, man, he lit them up like just full-on Buzz Lightyear, just shooting lasers everywhere. So it looked really good.
Yeah, talk about just kicking them in the teeth right out of the gates. Like they were just shell-shocked the rest of the way. But coming out weird? First quarter, 17-0. Like,
yeah, what's crazy about that massive total on that game is Chris Olave only had 2 targets.
I know.
That's crazy.
Dude, Chris Olave, like there's been so much hype about him because we know the talent is there. But I mean, like where he's been going in ADP, and he had an okay year last year, but still he hasn't been getting this target share that you expect from a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
And what did he end with, like 2 receptions?
Yeah, he went 2 for 2, but it just was like, I mean, the one I'd be happy about having right now is Rashid Shaheed. Like that dude looks like the obvious, you know, big play guy, and it was just
Carr loves those big plays. Carr loves slinging it downfield deep.
Yeah, and the tight ends, I mean, any one of those tight ends looked viable. Like Moreau looked awesome. I know now he's kind of banged up and questionable, but Juwan Johnson looked great. Like that is, I heard a lot of hype coming in about Juwan Johnson too before the season started, where it's like, this is Carr's perfect tight end. Like he's a really big dude, big physical tight end, and he's really good in the red zone. And it looks pretty obvious that was the case last night, or yesterday. Like he looked great. You know, it was like you had all of the signs there of like, okay, this could be an easy link up for them. But Taysom Hill was involved too.
Yeah, and with Juwan Johnson, you know, all off season, he was just saying how hard he's going to be working on his route running. Like he doesn't want to be just like a blocker and a big guy that's off to the side that you can throw to. Like he wants to be solid on his route running. And so there's a lot of options out there. But yeah, Rashid Shaheed, we saw a little bit of that last year too. He's just got this great speed. Very talented. And it's interesting because Dennis Allen was kind of talking trash about Shaheed, like not really giving him his vote of confidence coming into the season. And then 3 catches, another guy similar to Alec Pierce that you don't need him to catch the ball that much to deliver for fantasy. Alvin Kamara, 15 carries, 83 yards and a touchdown.
So
this whole offense looked great, but you know, we'll know more in week 2. Are the Panthers really just this bad? Because it kind of feels like that too.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, is Bryce Young looking like an absolute bust right now? Like we were talking about it yesterday. Like if Dave Canales can't fix Bryce, that's on Bryce. Like in my opinion,
30 attempts for 13 completions, 2 interceptions. That's a little Jordy throwing the ball out there, dude.
And then you got I live in North Carolina, so I follow the Panthers closely. I'm a diehard Arizona Cardinals fan and Suns fan, but I remember all the beat reporters so high on CJ Stroud, and then all of a sudden, a couple days before, all the talk was Bryce Young, and I'm like, what? Like, and so the fact that they passed up Stroud for Bryce, this is looking like such a huge gaffe for the Panthers.
Man,
so Vikings Giants.
Sammy D.
Oh boy, the Giants.
Yeah.
Just looks like nothing's changed. Danny Dimes with a terrible outing. Vikings looked solid. Sam Darnold,
Dude,
man,
Sam Darnold on a revenge tour, huh?
12 for 12 out of the gates. Ends
Yeah.
up with 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Aaron Jones, solid outing, 14 carries, 94 yards, a touchdown. What's interesting to me is like, I mean, it's just like the Giants, man. Like you addressed your O line, you upgraded your defense a little bit, you went and drafted Malik Neighbors, and you get blown out in week 1, 28-6. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the tape on that one again because I was catching it here and there. We're watching Red Zone, and it was just like, oh, here we go. And that
Yeah.
was in New York, bro. Like,
Yeah, well,
oh,
the O line looked really rough still. Like Darnold does not have much time, and when you don't give Darnold much time,
or
he's
you mean
uh
Danny
Jones.
Dimes?
Yeah, Danny Dimes.
Yeah.
So like you don't give him much time, he's gonna make bad decisions. That's just really what it comes down to. It's pretty apparent now. We've seen too much of it. I've been a Daniel Jones defender, but I can't defend him anymore, man. Like the guy is just making all the wrong decisions. He's super erratic. Like he gets super in his own head really quick, and it looks like he's just on a skateboard sometimes, where it's like he's backpedaling and throwing off his back foot and throwing across his body, you know, across the field, trying to make these crazy plays, and it just does not end well. So it's just they got to move on. They really do.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I'm trying to tell myself this week is like, don't overreact. Still got a long season for teams to figure it out, but
Yeah.
absolutely terrible debut. You know, you guys go and let Barkley go sign, like you basically treat Barkley like trash.
Yeah.
And you go let him sign with the Eagles. His debut is 3 touchdowns, and you guys don't score 1 as a team.
Yeah.
So I'll admit it. I'm pretty neutral on teams and players in general. I don't really have guys that I can't stand or anything, but I'd be lying if I didn't kind of just enjoy this weird New York Giants dumpster fire saga.
Yeah.
So sorry if you're a Giants fan. Like I'm a Cardinals fan. I've been through it. But all right, Raiders Chargers. Chargers looked ready to go.
Yeah.
They looked way more solid than I was expecting. Story of the day: J.K. Dobbins looks great. He looks 100%. He looks like the steal of the draft. If you got a hold of some Dobbins, if he's on your waiver wire still, you've got to snag him.
Yeah. I'm glad I traded Gus now. Like very happy about that. I traded him for Deontay Johnson. It might not pay off, but I'd rather have Deontay Johnson right now than what I've seen from Gus Edwards. He looked slow. He looked just not like J.K. Dobbins. Like
No.
Dobbins at first,
you had a little bit more than just why don't you be honest about what that full trade looked like?
I mean, okay, I gave up a first. That's fine. I gave up a first, but it's a late first. It's basically the first pick in the second round, because you know. But it just I don't know. You know, I still would rather have Deontay Johnson, because I think even if it's Bryce Young, they'll figure it out a little bit, and if it's not,
we can't overreact to week 1.
Yeah.
And I think Gus Edwards will still have a couple games here and there where he has a great week because of touchdowns. You know, I could see him in the red zone getting some work, but man, J.K. Dobbins, 10 carries, 135 yards and a touchdown, but the dude just absolutely looked electric.
Yeah.
One of those players that you're instantly jealous that you don't have on your crew. All right, so we got Broncos and the Seahawks playing in Seattle. Broncos lost this game 20-26. And I was catching little glimpses here and there. Again, I was like on red zone, and I was kind of doing a little bit of stuff around the house. And so my first thought when I was talking with Jordy on Sunday, because we were getting together to watch some of the night games, my first thought was like, Bo Nix doesn't look too bad in his first outing, because I only like caught a couple plays here and there. And that was actually a pretty rough outing.
Yeah. Tough defense on both sides. It was kind of a defensive game. That was the weirdest thing. I've never seen so many safeties called. There was almost 3 in a row. Like the Broncos kept getting the Seahawks in their own end zone. It was like the weirdest game I've ever watched in my life. But
Yeah, you actually caught more of it. I'm gonna go back and watch that one for sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, so it seemed defensive because I wouldn't expect that. Like I know the Seahawks are at home and their defense is like not bottom of the league, but
yeah.
against the run, the Broncos. I thought I thought
I didn't like what I
um,
seen at all from the Broncos offense. It looked the same to me. It looked erratic. It looked weird. Like they had Javante trying to like be the power back, and then they were bringing in McLaughlin for all these catches, and he just kept getting back to the line of scrimmage because they were doing the weirdest things like with their backs, and then with Bo Nix, it just looked like he was very like sketched out, scared. He tried to make the right decisions early on. He looked composed and he was not throwing stupid passes that were going to get picked off, and then it just kind of unraveled as the game went on. They got tired and it just looked worse as it went on. So I don't know. I think it's a little early to assess like what's going on, but I expected way more out of the Seahawks. I'll just say that. I was more disappointed with the Seahawks than I was the Broncos, because the Broncos are young. They have a new coach, and it's like, they're in their second year of trying to figure this thing out again with another new quarterback. But there was no excuse for the Seahawks play. Like, that was just lousy. Kenneth Walker gets hurt. They bring in Charbonnet. Charbonnet looked awesome. He had that nice little touchdown and everything, but I was super disappointed with Geno Smith. I didn't think he looked good at all.
Yeah, like so Kenneth Walker ends with 20 carries, so got absolute workhorse usage, 103 yards and a touchdown. So you're happy if you're a Kenneth Walker owner, although we'll see. It doesn't sound like this injury is going to be too significant, but again, since I didn't catch a lot of this game, did Charbonnet get mixed in, or was it all of his usage came when Walker went out?
It was like he got mixed in just a little bit, and then when Walker, got banged up, he came in and kind of took like the last couple of carries of the game and ended up getting that touchdown. But
Yeah,
yeah,
didn't do great on like Charbonnet, eight attempts, 12 yards, 1.5 yards per carry. That doesn't look good, but
yeah,
the pass catching, 2 receptions, 29 yards and the touchdown. I'll take that. I
yeah.
mean, I'm one of those guys. I drafted Charbonnet last year in our rookie draft, or I'm sorry, our startup draft, and I've just been, like I've gotten offers for him, and I want to see where this goes because I like Charbonnet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, man, with that usage, uh, without an injury to Walker, I got to wonder how much. We'll see. Again, week one, don't want to overreact, but yeah, Geno Smith, 171 yards, a touchdown, and interception.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Not enough.
And my God, dude, freaking JSN. Are we going to do this again this year? Like, I blamed Shane Waldron, and all the coach speak was, Ryan Grubb wants to get he wants to utilize JSN. He wants him out there a lot. And maybe it was Geno. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at how many snaps.
He had Pat Surtain on him for a lot of the game. So it was.
Oh, were they going after?
Because they had one of their bigger corners on Metcalf. They were switching out like every now and then. Like it seemed like for every big play they tried to make on passing, that Surtain was there. Like he was on DK when it mattered, but he was blanketing JSN like the entire game, it felt like. So kind of
that
rough.
makes me a little more optimistic. Yeah, looking here, JSN did get 79% of snaps, so I will take that all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm still just a little scarred from the rookie year, and I blame Shane Waldron entirely. Yeah. So like I want to talk about this Cowboys defense for a minute. Jordy and I were in a chat with one of our buddies, kind of scheming for one of our drafts, and our buddy had a draft the next day, so we are just talking football, and we kind of got into a little bit of a back and forth over how good the Cowboys defense is going to be this year. I have them in Dynasty, and I was talking up Mike Zimmer, and our buddy was just not having it. He thinks it was a big downgrade from Dan Quinn, and my take was like, look at what the Vikings defense looked like with Mike Zimmer, and I feel like Dan Quinn is one of those guys who his defense is kind of like, like a wall, solid, like not going to let much go down. But I feel like Mike Zimmer is a little bit more like volatile, like he's going to go after it. And so I was really excited when I saw they got Zimmer, and their defense looked freaking awesome.
I absolutely love that no matter what corner we plug in the Cowboys system, they do well. Like we had that new rookie who was just strapping Amari Cooper for most of the game, and it looked awesome. And Jerry Jeudy got out for one. That was kind of a busted coverage, but it looked great. Like, the offense looked awesome. Zeke hurdled a guy while he was standing upright. Like, Zeke looked like he had some juice left in those legs. He's the same age as Saquon Barkley, so I'm not out on Zeke in any form. People have been
You haven't been, man.
Yeah,
I got to give you credit. Like,
people have just been disrespecting like the offense so hard this year. They're like, the O-line's going to be bottom of the barrel
across the board.
Yeah,
across the board, we were like, what is up with the disrespect for the Cowboys, the leading team in the league for scoring last year?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, I was like, what has changed?
Yeah,
like,
picked right back up. And the backfield didn't look bad. I thought Zeke and Dowdle did a great job. It's not, the backfield doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to be the Eagles where it's Saquon just eating up all this work. It doesn't have to be that. It has to be 20 carries separated between the two guys and just look okay. And it looked fine. Dak played pretty well. CD had kind of a slow game. They were definitely giving him all the attention on defense, though. They were doubling him the entire game. So it opened up other avenues. Brandon Cooks got out for a touchdown. I loved it. I thought it looked fine. I think the Browns look horrible on offense still. I think Deshaun Watson's contract's one of the worst ever. And now he's in more legal trouble. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yep.
But we were talking about it kind of like, if Dave Canales can't fix Bryce Young just doesn't need to be a starter. And the fact that like Deshaun Watson is the first quarterback we haven't seen thrive with Kevin Stefanski. I know like DTR as a rookie is like, yeah, he looked a little bit sketchy, but look at what Joe Flacco did with Kevin Stefanski last year, like absolutely torching, went on a little playoff run. And Deshaun Watson, I don't see it getting better.
No.
It's like that's got to be, like you were saying last night, that's got to be the biggest contract blunder of all time.
Yeah, I don't want to hear the excuse of like it's the Cowboys defense either, because it just wasn't like there was no risk taking, there was no anything with him. It was just like super vanilla. Like, to me, it looked like Bryce Young, like just not very like busting playmaker like he used to be. It just doesn't look the same anymore.
Yeah. So, Jerome Ford, solid outing, 12 carries, 44 yards and a touchdown. And we'll see. I mean, like, we obviously hope Nick Chubb sees the field at some point.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, Jerome Ford looked a little bit better than I was expecting. I know it's not like a monster outing, but for where you were able to get Jerome Ford in drafts, like, he's going to be solid for you up until Chubb gets back. So it's not like you drafted him pretty late, most likely.
Yeah.
And CD will be fine. 5 receptions, 61 yards. Like, I saw some of those receptions. And the thing is, like, I thought Lamb looked good.
Yeah. For sure.
Even though it was a tough matchup. Arguably the best defense in the league coming into the season. The Browns were rated, So, all right. Commanders, Buccaneers, we're almost done with this. Buccaneers stomp the Commanders 37-20. Buccaneers look really good. And I mean, we know week 1, you don't want to overreact, but that Buccaneers offense looked really good, man.
Yeah.
Like, they don't look like they're missing Dave Canales at all. Baker Mayfield just looking like comeback player of the year or comeback story for, for a long time. We haven't seen. And honestly, I don't know about you, but how can you not be a Baker Mayfield fan? Even if that's not your team, like what he's been through to be out there, he brings a fire to teams, like he's like he's like competitive. A hype guy.
Like, him getting out and running when he's just not a fast guy is like the funniest thing to watch. But he just wants it so bad. Like, the dude plays with this confidence that I was like, watching that clip of him running, it's so funny because he's so slow. But I was saying to these guys, I was like, in his mind, he's running a 4.2 right now. Like, he's just juking and like doing all these super slow jukes, and I'm like, that dude is in his mind just putting people in a spin cycle. Like, that's just the kind of confidence he has, and it's fun to watch.
It is. It's so fun. He's my backup quarterback. I traded away Geno Smith straight up for Baker. No, I didn't. That's what I tried. I tried to actually preseason trade your brother Geno for Baker, and he was just like trolling me, acting like that was such an unfair trade. And I'm like, fine, I'll keep Baker. no, I packaged a deal. It was a big trade, but I ended up trading away Kirk Cousins for Baker in a deal that also brought me Trey McBride, Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
Traded away Josh Jacobs and a first.
Okay.
So I'm happy with Baker as my backup. But what you guys don't know that I just find hilarious every time I watch Baker is dude looks identical to Jordy out there. Like if you guys see Jordy in real life, like just put Jordy's head on Baker. That's Jordy's build. So I always just crack up when I see Baker out there. I'm like, it looks like I'm watching Jordy out there. But 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. Beautiful performance. Chris Godwin looks like, I mean, for full PPR, especially 8 receptions, 83 yards and a touchdown. Mike Evans, 8. Bucky Irving looks like the solid like runner that they need. And they, maybe Rashad White is a little bit more just passing down style, but I'm not saying Rashad White's fantasy implications are that's a bad pickup, but I'm just like, things look good for the Buccaneers right now. I do want to talk about Jaden Daniels because fantasy owners are so hyped on his week 1 performance, and I get it for fantasy, but I mean, this is not sustainable. 16 carries, 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. 88 yards. Like, is that all rushing? Like, maybe let me see what his actual full box score looked like. Because no, he went. So ESPN was just showing his rushing yards. 184 yards total. 17 to 24 is actually not bad. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh. I'm just saying, like, overall as a team, they have to find a different way. They need to get things rolling because that's not sustainable. He will not last the whole season.
Yeah.
If you're a fantasy owner, you've got to be excited though, because the upside is great. But dude lost his helmet twice.
He's got to learn how to slide. Me and Bobby were saying this to each other yesterday watching the game. I'm like, this dude is literally barrel rolling on the ground. He doesn't know how to slide. Like, he literally, like, even the announcer said it looks like a kid doing a somersault. Like, he's just rolling himself across the ground, and these guys are just watching him. They're not even like trying to tackle him because he's just like flopping himself all over the floor. So he looked like a fish out of water on the ground. But I was stoked with what I seen. It's a Todd Bowles defense. He did great. It was a rough game, obviously, but I think he'll be all right. I think that was a really good outing for him. But yeah, he's definitely got to learn how to slide.
Yeah, and my complaints are not with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah,
it's
the offense.
Cliff Kingsbury needs to dial up something
Dan Quinn
else
too. What do we talk like? What's going on with Dan Quinn's like dominant defensive style? I think that's just silly. I think it proves how much talent Dallas actually had on defense, and it made him look a lot better. Got him a fat contract, but I mean, are we really gonna sit here and be like Dan Quinn was the Cowboys defense when this dude gave up the biggest lead in Super Bowl history? Like, are we forgetting that about that Dan Quinn? Like, I'm not ready to like do that.
Yeah, I'm still a fan of Dan Quinn. I just think that he's a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When he's just focusing on dialing up the defense. But we'll see. Again, week 1. But my gosh, Jordy's been so high on Mike Evans, and I've been like hesitant of the age cliff. And I started coming around a couple weeks before the start of the season, and 5 receptions, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns, just looks dominant. Like,
yeah, he's got the best late hands in the league. Like, he doesn't catch the ball until it's literally like on him, and then he puts his hands out and grabs it. Like, dude is such a good receiver. It's crazy.
Yeah, bro. And then rookie Jalen McMillan, solid outing. Only 1 reception, 32 yards and a touchdown. But that I still think, for a rookie, third wide receiver on that team, I think if you've got him in Dynasty, you've got to be pretty excited about what the future is going to look like.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up this recap. I know, guys, we went pretty long on this, but it's week 1, so we're just having a little bit of fun with it. We only got a couple more. Rams Lions. This was a very fun game to watch. In my opinion.
Yeah.
I know it was like a slow start, but things started to pick up more in the second half. Lions end up kind of sneaking away with the win, 26-20. Puka Nacua, gets injured, going to IR, so we know he's out for at least 4 weeks. David Montgomery, 17 carries, 91 yards and a touchdown. Stafford goes for 317 yards and a touchdown, 1 interception. But the story of the night was Jameson Williams Oof,
J-Mo.
I,
Yeah.
I just wish I would have gotten more shares of him for Dynasty or for
Yeah, man.
redraft. Like,
I tried
one
everything to
of
get him from Bobby. He would not budge. And I don't blame him
man,
now.
yeah, Bobby, he's a buddy of ours that has been in our Dynasty League, and he's been a truther for J.K. Dobbins and Jamison Williams. Like, he survived the whole year last year. I mean, God, I had to give him praise. I was like, bro, you called J.K. Dobbins way before any announcer, any analyst online. Like, he's been such a truther about the upside there because he's getting him for free. But Jamison Williams, 5 receptions, 121 yards, a touchdown, and it looked like this offense was running through him. I would be a little bit nervous if I was an Amon-Ra St. Brown owner. I think Amon-Ra will be good, but I think this absolutely hurts his ceiling a little bit for fantasy.
It's going to make that first round price tag really hard to deal with.
Yeah, I don't know how he meets expectations because they don't have to rely on, because the thing is like Amon-Ra for a team is he's Dan Campbell's like golden child, because the dude plays so physical. He loves getting out there and blocking, but he's a great wide receiver when he has the opportunities. I just don't think this offense, I was hesitant on Jamison Williams coming into this year because I'm like, you got Amon-Ra, you got Sam Laporta. I was just like, where does he fit in? You've got Jahmyr Gibbs. I just don't like, how many more targets are there to go around? Turns out it was the inverse. Like, this is just week 1, but if this is what this Lions offense looks like, Jamison Williams is actually going to hurt Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown's fantasy outlook.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like they're going to be busts. I'm just saying those guys were premium picks. Those were, so I think that the Jamison Williams owners are absolutely just running victory laps right now.
Not like the Cooper Kupp owners. PPR king, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were high on Cooper Kupp coming into this year too, because he still had flashes last year, but we know that he was dealing with that shoulder, and he's had a full offseason to recover. And I just feel like people were starting to forget who Cooper Kupp is. Like, we always talk about it, how like these analysts are like, I don't know if he's like quite there in the Hall of Fame talk yet.
It's crazy.
But to us, it's like, he's absolutely a Hall of Famer.
Crazy. That's some haterade.
Like, he's got the ring. He's got the Triple Crown. I mean, what more does this dude need to do? Like, is it all about rings? Like, so I think that's crazy. We were super high on Cooper Kupp, but now with Puka Nacua out for a few weeks, and the thing is like, Cooper Kupp's one of those guys. He's so good. It really doesn't, like, you can double cover him, but he's still gonna end the week with a solid stat line, even if you are blanketing him. But yeah, so we'll talk about some of the fantasy implications for the Rams with Puka going out. Very unfortunate. But let's wrap this up and then get into waiver ads real quick. Jets 49ers. 49ers end up winning the game 32-19. Jets looked absolutely atrocious
on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, like, where do we even want to start with this? Like, the Jets, it was shockingly bad in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know, like, Aaron Rodgers force fed Garrett Wilson like 90% of the targets. That was kind of crazy, but honestly, I think this came down to a difference in coaching. I think Shanahan just put on a masterclass. His offense just was completely clicking. Jordan Mason looked insane, but he ate all the time of possession. The Jets had like 18 minutes of total time of possession, and it was just a total one-sided, like, watch us run 8 minutes off of every single quarter, and you can sit on the sideline, Aaron Rodgers, and watch us do it. So in my opinion, I think it's kind of hard to say how the offense looks, but the defense looked awful. Like, I had the Jets defense in Dynasty, and I was like kind of pissed off. I was like, this looks horrible. Is Hassan Reddick, everyone's using the Hassan Reddick spiel. Is Hassan Reddick going to stop Deebo Samuel? Is Hassan Reddick going to stop Jordan Mason all by himself? No, he's not. So, like, I don't want to hear that excuse from Jets fans. Like, Hassan Reddick is amazing. He's great, yes, but he would not have done very much more for them last night. That was just a total outclassing of coaching, I think. And I don't know. I think it's hard to say what the Jets offense is going to look like, because I think Aaron Rodgers had some flashes. The back shoulder fade to Garrett Wilson was one of the best throws I've ever seen in my life. But
free play.
Yeah.
Got him with one.
Yeah, well, I'm talking the one where Garrett Wilson like jumped up on the back shoulder and grabbed the one. Like that was incredible. But
it was
the free play. That's Aaron Rodgers' DNA. Like the dude is the free play. So that was awesome. Lazard knew exactly what to do. He just went right up the field and got that easy tutty. But I don't think you can really blame the Jets offense here. It did look kind of bad. The interception was a total freak accident. It just kind of gets like bounced in the air and picked off. But that was a coaching masterclass in my opinion.
It was, and we do need to. I mean, like I am personally a little bit frustrated with the CMC situation. There needs to be a little bit of investigating going on the NFL's part about that. Maybe we get a good explanation for what went on there, but you've got CMC even before the Jordan Mason drama post game. You got CMC listed as questionable, but all the reporting is that he's going to be playing. And I mean, people were high on him. Jordy and I stayed away from him for fantasy implications, not in like fantasy, but for daily fantasy, prize picks, underdog, stuff like that. But everyone was so high on him. And we were locking in Jordan Mason at 13.5 rushing yards for more. And we were in the middle of making our slips, and all of a sudden all of the picks go off the board, and then the news drops CMC's out. And it was just surprising to me because there was like not even a hint of game time decision designations or, like what this workload's going to look like. And then you've got Jordan Mason post game interview saying like he knew Friday he was going to play. So that kind of stuff frustrates me.
That should be a fine. Like you're lying about a player's injury status, and they're saying an hour before the game they just made the decision, and then it's like Jordan Mason just naturally off the tongue says he knew Friday. He definitely wasn't lying. Later in a different interview, after the game is completely settled, he's frustrated now because Shanahan probably, got up in there and was like, come on, bro, you can't do that. So, yeah,
all that being said, Jordan Mason looked amazing. 28 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. Got a little bit of work in the passing game.
Prime Todd Gurley out there.
Yeah, dude, he looks like, obviously this is a great offense to be a running back in because they make it easy on you, but he looked like above average. He looked like better than a backup. And then you also, Debo, I mean, gosh, they ran the ball so much. You get Jordan Mason with 28 carries. I was expecting because Debo last year, his rushing attempts were not as high as we had seen in years before. He was averaging like 2 or 3 attempts a game. And then so I was thinking coming into this game, okay, CMC's out. Maybe we'll see Debo with like 4 or 5, but he ended up getting 8 rushing attempts, only 23 yards. Ended up putting together a solid game, but yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know. We got to see what's going on here with the Jets. Again, week 1, we don't want to overreact too much, but man, absolutely no usage for Mike Williams. Alan Lazard, and Alan Lazard was the leading receiver in the game.
It's all weird. We'll see though.
Yeah. Look, this is also just what makes you really look forward to week 2. We were so curious about week 1, and but let's get into waivers.
Enjoy sports betting and daily fantasy? Well, Daily Grind is here to help you beat the books. They make premium DFS tools that do all the work for you, comparing lines across just about every platform, looking for discrepancies for you to take advantage of. Start off your research with their DFS Optimizer, a tool that finds all the best plays and rates them with their odds to hit indicator. Or if you'd rather have them make your entire slip for you, they have you covered with their AI slip generator. They'll even notify you when a new slip is available. Go to dgfantasy.com and use code BACKDOOR. They will give you 25% off your first subscription all the way up to a year if you want. That's dgfantasy.com, code BACKDOOR.
All right, so for waiver ads, we're going to be pulling up Sleeper here and just go down the trending list, and we'll just kind of talk about players that are on the trending list that we are high on, players that we might fade. And then also, if there's anyone that we're into that's not on the trending list, we will talk about that too. But speaking of sleeper, I don't know if you guys have tried sleeper picks yet, but it's a lot of fun. Another, daily fantasy platform that's built right into the best app for fantasy football around by far. So if you guys want to try sleeper picks, a little bit of DFS while you're getting into your week for fantasy, use code backdoor and they will match your first deposit up to $100. A lot of fun on there. They've been introducing alt lines. They've got flex play type picks that you can put together and plays as low as $1. So definitely take advantage of that. There's a link in the description if you want to sign up for sleeper picks or for any of the other platforms we're associated with, Underdog, Chalkboard, any of those. Jump on there. But let's talk about the waiver wire. So the top guy on trending is Jordan Mason, pretty obvious. Which, if you know what you're doing, if you're in a competitive league, he's probably not on your waiver wire, unless you're in like a 10-man league, then maybe. Or, but in our Dynasty league, the CMC owner did not even have Jordan Mason. So you guys got to handcuff your high priority elite players on your team. But obviously, if Jordan Mason is available in your league, definitely go get him. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know how much fab I'm spending on Jordan Mason. If you guys do fab in your league, or if you've got like the top pick, we'll figure out. Like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe he is the top pickup this week for week 1. We just don't know how long he's going to have that role. But we'll see, man. The jury's out on Christian McCaffrey right now. Like there's just not a whole lot of news on what's actually going on there.
I was kind of looking. We just took like a quick little break, and I was kind of scrolling through Twitter, and I was seeing something that a lot of people think he might go on IR, which is a big possibility.
Ooh.
So because they think that it's the Achilles, and it might be worse than they're letting on. And the fact that he missed week 1, and he was kind of not putting too much weight on it when he was walking around the sideline. So who knows? If it's not good to go, man, you don't want to rush that back. I think we learned that from the Kevin Durant saga. You don't want to play on a somewhat ruptured or torn Achilles at all. So if it's IR, then man, Jordan Mason's going to
you got to dump. If it's IR, you definitely. I'm maybe throwing like 50% of fab to grab him. If you're the CMC owner,
dump it.
You want to make sure you've got that.
Yeah.
That does change it. If he goes on IR and you've got the next 4 weeks minimum of Jordan Mason, that's got to be the number 1 pickup of the week.
Yep.
Alan Lazard is number 2 trending on sleeper. I mean,
sure.
Yeah, solid. Yeah, I mean, like, I just don't know what to make of that. He was the leading receiver last night. He'll get his. And a lot of times when these guys are trending on sleeper, there are leagues out there that just run free agency the whole year. We're not a fan of that at all. That's not very competitive, but that's why sometimes, I mean, like, waivers haven't run yet, and there's over 1 million ads for Alan Lazard. So, and same with Jordan Mason. It's like, these are just these nerfed leagues that aren't very competitive. But if you have like a waiver priority here, I mean, like, how much would you, if you were in a position where you needed a wide receiver, let's say 2, or a backup, or someone to put in at your flex, how much would you spend for Alan Lazard percentage wise?
If say you had 200 fab, I'd put, like, if I really needed a flex option, I'd throw like 22 at him, in that range. Okay. That's always just a comfortable range for me, because like something like a number 22 or something like that is like, you're going to snake those people who are going for like the even numbers, like 20, but you're also getting just a little bit more value. Like, it's hard because like right now I wouldn't spend more than like 12 on him, out of 200, because it's like, I don't really need him that much. But if he was out there, I'd like to have him, obviously. But if you really need him, man, it's up to you. I mean, just kind of, I always pay attention to when we do stuff like this, because this happens quite a lot in our Dynasty League where it's like people will bid on players. I always try to keep an eye on what people put on players. So like if they lowball it, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be going against this guy, like me and Russo are always in bidding wars on the fab. So I'm like, all right, I know Russo's going to be in like the 10 to 18 range. So I'm always trying to snake him. But it's like with other people, some people go crazy. Some people dump. Like last year, I made a mistake and I dropped Isaiah Likely. And then when Mark Andrews went out, I had to dump my whole fab wallet on him because I was like, I don't need anything else. I just need Likely back on my squad. So I got him back, but and I will never let him go again. But yeah, so it just depends on what kind of situation you're in and how other people use their fab, I think.
Yeah, getting into a little bit of strategy here. That's a classic move. You guys, just work with us if you already know this, but we got a million ads for Jordan Mason before waivers have run. Or maybe, there's guys that their waivers run Monday night too. Ours run Wednesday 3 a.m., which is the sleeper default. But a little trick that we do run is like take the number you're comfortable with and throw an extra $1 on there. Like again, just doing that odd number situation. We've done that many times where like there'll be two bids for $20 and then someone snaked the player everyone wanted for 21. Like just get clever about it, get creative. But yeah, I agree. That's about 10% of budget. I just didn't see anything that made me think Alan Lazard is going to be doing this week after week.
Yeah, I mean, without the free play and without the weird drive by Tyrod Taylor at the end, he wouldn't have had touchdowns. So it's like
garbage time.
Yeah.
So Tyler Johnson, this one's interesting. I'm personally not going to go too hard at this. Let's see what he actually did here. Okay, so he got 7 targets. We know Puka's out for at least 4 weeks. 5 receptions, 79 yards. It might be a solid pickup.
I think it was a good game script for the receivers in that game, though. They were down. Stafford had almost 50 passing attempts. That's not going to happen every week, or else Stafford's arm's never going to last. But it was like they were trying to win that game with all their might. And I mean, Cooper Kupp, he cannot sustain that. That was chaos. So
and Cooper Kupp will still get heavy
12 targets, 15 targets, no problem.
Yeah, we're not saying he won't, but Cooper Kupp's going to be freaking glorious, probably the whole year. But I'd be more interested. Honestly, for me, I was really happy that I took a chance and got Colby Parkinson. We talked about it in the week 1 preview. Like they paid Colby Parkinson $22 million. I know that's not all guaranteed, but the contract doesn't say like, oh, this guy's just someone that we need to fill in for Tyler Higbee. This to me looked like we like this guy. He will fill in for Tyler Higbee, but he may be the future for us. And they come out and they were utilizing him, especially in that first half. He ends up going for 5 targets, 4 receptions, 47 yards. Full PPR, that's a solid outing. Getting 8.7 from your tight end position. If you need someone at tight end, which we know there's only a small amount of elites to go around, but Colby Parkinson, solid pickup this week, in my opinion. If you didn't already grab him, we got Alexander Madison here. Again, this is someone I'm more interested in because he got way more work than we were expecting.
60% of the snaps.
Yeah, five attempts, but he was getting all the passing down work. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Very surprising, in my opinion. I don't know anyone that thought Madison was going to have a significant role.
No.
And I would be super interested because we're not in a situation here where there was an injury, so we're all going for that guy. It's like, no, like he could very well end up just taking over this backfield for all we know. Justice Hill, solid pickup. Got a lot of usage. 8 targets, 6 receptions, 52 yards. I think that he's going to get a lot more work than we all thought. if they're not like just dominating a game, I think that, anytime they're in a close game or they're down by a little bit, like we know it's pretty obvious that he's going to be the passing down back. So I like Justice Hill as a pickup this week. Um, I'd rather be swinging personally for Alexander Mattison for the upside. Alexander Mattison, I would say the same thing. I would personally rather have him than Alan Lazard or Tyler Johnson, just because the running back position is a little bit more sparse.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go, 25% of fab budget, just to see what Alexander Mattison has there.
For sure.
This is going to totally ruin our dynasty league, though. Jordy's being real quiet right now. He's not one to like let me know what he's interested in.
No, dude, I totally agree. Madison is an awesome weapon. He's he didn't look too good with the Vikings, but honestly, the Vikings O-line has never looked solid. Like in the last couple of years, it's always just been a little shaky. I don't think the Raiders offensive line looks amazing either, obviously, but Alexander Mattison looked like the better playmaker. Zamir White looked more vanilla. He's just kind of running into the line trying to find yards, but Madison is the shake and bake guy, and he looked more talented. So I think I like what I'm seeing more from Madison than Zamir White at this point.
Me too, and that's why there's so much upside there, because Alexander Mattison is looking like he could be a week-to-week flex for you. I mean, he got 16.2 fantasy points. I know he got a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm pretty high on him,
Yeah.
just because it's coming out of nowhere. We know that he's been given a contract to be a lead back in the past, and I think we were all just kind of sleeping on him because of what happened in Minnesota. But, I mean, obviously Jordan Mason's priority number one, but I think of the top four, other than Mason, I like Madison the best so far.
Yeah.
Actually, Tank Bigsby, same situation. That's definitely a solid pickup. I mean, if you didn't have Tank and you saw what he was doing, what are you thinking? Like same thing, like 25% of budget, maybe 30% of budget.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm in a situation where I'm really weak at depth in running back, and I'm looking at a waiver wire in some case, I would hope this is not the case in a lot of leagues, but I know it is because of the millions of ads. If I'm looking at Jordan Mason and Tank Bigsby on the waiver wire, I'm dumping 50% of my wallet on both of them. Like give me both of them. I need running backs. I need help. Both of those guys have a tremendous upside right now. It helps so much with ETN fumbling that ball. It's just a Cinderella story for Tank Bigsby right now. It's like, okay, hopefully he can just start, and then he dominates the snap share in such an important game like that. I was like, okay, this is what I want to see. So yeah, if I'm in a situation where I'm like, okay, I need running back depth. I need honestly a better option at running back. If you like just lost Kenneth Walker or something, you could go pick up, Charbonnet as well if he's going to be out. But I love those two options, so I would go and dump 40-50% of my wallet on both of those guys just to get me some wins under my belt for these first couple of weeks.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why, especially, I mean, gosh, you got to dump a lot for Jordan Mason if CMC goes to IR. But I'm really intrigued by this Alexander Mattison situation because Tank Bigsby, I have a little bit more reason to believe that like Travis Etienne isn't just going to go away.
Yeah.
We don't want to overreact to week one, but Zamir White is not some like established guy who has a history of being dominant. Like Madison could very well take over this backfield. Malik Willis, not interested. Maybe if you're in Superflex, and we could talk a little bit about Jordan Love. Like the most optimistic take we've seen so far is that he could be back by week 3. But I'm a little skeptical of that. But
he skipped the IR,
we hope he's okay.
So.
Yeah, the most important thing is that this wasn't season ending, and that's what we were all worried about. So super happy to hear that he's going to be okay. We got Colby Parkinson down there. We already talked about him. Demarcus Robinson, another solid pickup. Let's see. Trying to decide if I'd rather have him.
I would. I think 92% of the snap share. I think
I'd rather have him over
Yeah.
over what's his name, Tyler Johnson. I think the reason Tyler Johnson is trending so much higher is because he was just out there in so many more leagues.
Yeah.
But Demarcus Robinson, another player who is probably rostered in most competitive leagues already, but if he's on your waiver wire, solid pickup.
Yeah.
A guy we shouted out in last week's show, Devon Valet. Like his fantasy score didn't look that great. I mean, pretty solid though. What we called out about Sean Payton. He's going to have a Michael Thomas type guy who's going to be a PPR machine, and then this dude comes out in his debut and goes 8 for 8. 8 targets, 8 receptions, 39 yards.
Yeah.
So definitely someone who should be on your roster. I'm not going to break the bank to go get him, but if he's available, I would grab him.
Yeah.
Greg Dortch, solid. They love Dortch. Kind of similar situation in my opinion to the Devon Valet pick. 8 targets, 6 receptions, 47 yards. Full PPR, solid to have on your roster.
Yep.
I'm not going to break the bank for Dortch though. Alec Pierce, we talked about him. I think this is a solid pickup.
41 yards per catch is so crazy.
Yeah, for depth, he's one of those players don't be discouraged by the target share, in the receptions, because 125 yards for a touchdown, kind of like Rashid Shaheed. He's a guy that you don't need to get much volume to put up points for you in fantasy.
Yeah.
Let's see, Jameson Williams. Okay. If Jameson Williams is available in your league, you need to go get him.
Yeah. Dump your wallet for him.
Literally. Like he's definitely up there in the Jordan Mason type pickup, swing for him, because we didn't even have any injuries and he led that offense. And I think that that's just what we're going to see, because that's been the coach speak all offseason too.
Yep. Loved
Stafford,
what I've seen from Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, let's oh yeah, for sure. I was thinking of Juwan Johnson when you said that. Yeah, man. They were really utilizing him. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 64 yards, solid for PPR. Oh, he's questionable. Just day to day. We saw him get a little bit banged up in that game. Chris Boswell, obviously, if you need a kicker. Brandon Cooks, solid pickup. Not going to break the bank. Again, competitive leagues, he's probably not on your waiver wire.
Yeah.
7 targets, but also CD didn't have like a monster game, so I don't think that that's going to be what we see from Cooks every week.
I think Cooks is like a touchdown or bust kind of guy, in my opinion. It's like,
absolutely. Jeff Wilson, I'm just not interested, personally. But it did look like, like the Raheem Mostert owners, Mostert did not have the volume that he did last year. That'll pick up, but I'm personally not interested in Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
Go with your gut, but he's not on my radar at all.
Yeah. One guy I want to bring up for handcuffers out there, Bucky Irving. If you have Rachaad White, go get Bucky Irving, because that dude looks really good. I was actually really impressed. He had 9 carries and he went for 62 yards, 3 targets for 2 receptions. He looked awesome. I thought he looked more efficient than Rachaad White. Rachaad White obviously played pretty well, but I was really surprised what I seen with Bucky. I was like, okay, this dude's got a solid floor, and he looks like a playmaker. So definitely go get a handcuff if you got Rachaad.
Yeah, and if he's just someone you want to have around for flex plays here and there, and also, I mean, this is one of those guys that you want. He should be rostered, because if for some reason something happened and Rachaad White were to miss time, this is a type of running back who can be an every down back. Who can carry the workload.
Jordan Mason situation for sure. Where it's that's the guy coming in.
Jamal Williams, 11 rush attempts, touchdown, 1 reception.
Yeah,
much more volume than I was expecting.
A lot of that was in trash time.
It's true.
So they were up 47-10. So it was
that's true. Why have Kamara out there?
Right.
Braylon Allen. This guy looks like he's going to be good.
Same thing. Breece Hall handcuff. Go get him.
Yeah, I'm not going to go hard at Braylon Allen, but just overall as a player, I think that we didn't see much from him, but I am pretty high on Braylon Allen for the future.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
Jaleel McLaughlin, if he's available, you definitely want that dude rostered.
Yeah.
Like
5 targets, 5 receptions, 10 attempts. Solid.
Yeah, looked good last year. Some of these guys are kind of like whatever. If Sam Darnold is on your wire and you don't have, like, even if you just need a solid backup, I thought he looked great.
Yeah.
Let's see what he went for. Only 15.6, but the efficiency looked solid. 19 of 24, 208 yards. If you watch that game, he looked great. I think it was like some of the best we've seen from him. So yeah, definitely. There's a chance Zeke might be out there. Actually, some of your leagues, absolutely go grab him.
Yeah.
That's a pretty obvious one. And then Zach Charbonnet, kind of wrap it up there. If you want to talk about Ray McLeod, but Zach Charbonnet, if Kenneth Walker misses time, this will be a huge score. But this is someone who should be on like, even if you don't have Kenneth Walker, these types of backs, like when it's a back that is in a relatively solid offense who has the potential, like he's clearly the guy. Some of these ambiguous backfields where you've got your solid starter and then there's a couple guys they like I stay away from that. But when you have a clear cut next man up, you want that dude. And obviously it depends on how deep your bench is in your league. So you don't want to just, like, a lot of times there's you have like 6 bench spots. There's not going to be a whole lot of room for lottery tickets like that. But if you've got the depth, Zach Charbonnet should be rostered in most leagues, unless it's like a 10-man league or something. But
right.
Yeah. Anyone else that isn't on here that
Ronnie Rivers. If you got Kyron Williams, go get Ronnie Rivers. I'm not gonna say how much because I don't want Russo to reverse snake me for taking Valet from him. But
no, you can tell him I'm not interested in Ronnie.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going like 20% on Ronnie. I've got Kyron. I've seen enough Blake Corum truthers suck some eggs. He's all that Blake Corum hype, man. I just didn't see it. He looked awesome in college, but they're not gonna break their situation they have. And Sean McVay is a very calculated person when it comes to like what he's allowing to come through. So maybe halfway through the season we start to see him get some work. Maybe next week we see him get some work. We'll just see how it goes. But yeah, I want Ronnie Rivers as my handcuff. I don't even care about Blake Corum anymore. So that's just where I'm at.
Yeah, we'll kind of see how that plays out. It looks like, there was a little bit of talk about this in the preseason, but it looks like McVay does want for the management, which we told you guys in the offseason, you don't have to worry about Kyron's workload. But it looks like McVay is wanting to keep Kyron fresh by maybe once a game giving a full drive to the backup. And that's what we saw in that game. And jury's still out for me. Like maybe next week that one drive does go to Blake Corum. But they've liked Ronnie Rivers for a while too, and the Rams have let us know, like, McVay does kind of give us hints. We heard about how much he liked Kyron back when Akers was there, and then Kyron ends up being the guy. But I thought Ronnie Rivers actually looked good, with his snap. So we can wrap it up there. If there's guys that you're interested in and and we didn't cover them, just leave us a comment and we'll be happy to just ask us any questions you want. Speaking of which, we'll get back to you as soon as we can in the comment section, but also when we do our start sit show, we'll post to our YouTube if you guys have any start sit questions when we do our starts of the week coming up here. So you can leave us a comment on here if you have questions about start sit, but also if you're subscribed to our YouTube, we will definitely post on there when we're going to be collecting questions. If you have questions about your roster, any type of questions you have, just hit us up in the comments, or when we post that, you can hit us back, and then we'll answer any questions you guys have. So make sure you're subscribed. Give us a like on the way out if you don't mind. And guys, thanks for tuning in. It's fun. We're in full swing here, and we got the whole season ahead of us. We'll be not covering basketball for fantasy football, but once basketball gets going, all of our DFS shows will be covering basketball and football. It was wild last year. It'll get wild again this year.
Yeah.
So have a good night, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Backdoor Fantasy Sports Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop us a comment. You can also find us on all platforms at Backdoor FS.